I just don't think Sonia was ready to accept the responsibility of two people living together.
Yeah, she made him take a number.
I think I'm swearing off women for a while.
That's a bit drastic, isn't it?
No, see, I was reading this magazine. They said I was a love addict.
Love addict.
Reckless, made happy, crazed for attention, and what my drives, they're out of control. I'm a hopeless romantic.
Oh, forget it, baby. Take a week off. Relax.
Oh, no, I'm going to be out of here in less than a week, really. I'm on a roll. I got this rhythm going. It's going to be job, boom, career, boom, apartment, boom. Oh, no.
What is it? Not another warrant?
Jury duty. Today's the deadline. I have to be there by 9. Oh, well, I'll get out of it. This is an easy one. And then it's going to be job, boom, career, boom, apartment.
Welcome to part 2 of our Illegally Yours episode. But before we go into real talk, it's time for PP, our patron pitch. This is where we let our patrons know what they can expect in their exclusive patron feed. We also let non-patrons know what they're missing out on. So this is being recorded, Alex, when we're roughly 2 days away from our Livestream for the Cure segment. Mm-hmm. You guys will be listening to it probably 2 weeks after, more than 2 weeks after it's already happened. So you know how it went. We don't. Let's hope that it went great. But right now, I can't help but think that it's still in our future. And for our listeners, it'll be long gone. I don't know if we're going to have a live stream recap, regroup segment for patrons like we did last year. But if we do, it will be just for the patron feed. So keep an eye out for that. That will be available to every patron, as well as our cutting room floor segments. As we're speaking, I have the last picture show and Nickelodeon stuff from the cutting room floor. I'm just going to put it all together in one file, and that's going to be the next one that drops. That's available to all patrons. Also available to all patrons, our bonus episodes. This month, we're doing the movie First Reformed, demanded by patron Jamie Russell. First Reformed, where Ethan Hawke plays a priest that didn't even get an Oscar nomination.
Nothing.
No respect for him. No respect for Paul Schrader. No respect for planet Earth, according to that movie. We watched it already. We're ready to record that conversation. If it's not on the feed by the time you listen to this, just hold tight. It'll be there before the end of the month. So every patron gets that, as well as access to all the other bonus episodes we've recorded. Now, if you want more, then you kick it up a tier to the $3 tier, the Winonis, and that gets you access to our pre-recording notes, gets you access to our quick video reviews. Alex is doing the Banshees of Inisherin, the Colin Firth, Brendan Gleeson reunion that nobody expected. And then I am going to be doing the movie Athena. Both of these demanded by Nerd Revert. Nerd Revert, you're going to have to... I'm going to reach out to you and get clarification, because I was looking at it. I was looking it up today, and there's more than one Athena available. I am assuming that he wants me to watch the Athena from 2022, just because the Banshees of Inisherin is 2022 as well. So I'm thinking he was going for that year when he gave us our assignments. But
it's a dangerous game, assuming,
I know. Both fresh, by the way. 96% for the Banshees, 86% if I got the right Athena. So we'll see. Jason, I'll reach out. We'll figure this out. I still have a couple of weeks to get it done. And then you also get access to Contrarians After Hours. That's the spin-off show where we tell you about other things that we're watching, that we're playing, that we're reading, listening to, thinking about. But on the Bogdanovich film episodes, that's when we just delve into other Bogdanovich films. So, Alex, we're going to be supplementing our Bogdanovich film intake with 2 entries for this After Hours. We're going to be talking about Daisy Miller, the 1974 period comedy, costume drama, starring Sybil Shepherd, 69% on Rotten Tomatoes. And They All Laughed, 1981, 50%. I think that one's a comedy with Ben Gazzara. Both of these before Illegally Yours. Pre-Rob Lowe. Are they going to be as complicated, as layered as Illegally Yours? We'll find out, and you'll find out on the After Hours. You got any expectations here, Alex? Are you excited or worried about the idea of a period piece directed by Peter Bogdanovich?
I don't know if I feel one way or the other. There's been pros and cons to this journey so far, but more Sybil Shepherd, more Cloris Leachman, and so yeah, I'm willing to give it a shot. What's the run? It's an hour and a half. Come on now,
Can be done.
we'll be all right. Yeah, we'll be all right. And then They All Laughed. What are we looking at there? Hour 50. We get more John Ritter and Audrey Hepburn in this one. So
And Ben Gazzara is the bad guy from the original Roadhouse, right?
yes.
There you go. Quality already assured. All right, so that's going to be the after hours. And then if you want to be part of those patrons that tell us what to do, people like Jason Nerdrovert, like Jamie Russell, then just join the $5 tier or the $10 tier, the Embries or the Gats, and then you get to shape the show. You get to tell us a little bit of what you want here, and we do it. So go to patreon.com/Contrarian Prime, look at our tiers, and see how you would like to join the Contrarian supplements.
$1, $3, $5, and $10 our respective tiers. Head on over, take a look around, check out what's there. As I say every time, we have all of our bonus episodes dating back to several years ago when we started this with our Blue is the Warmest Color deep dive, as we say, and all of the journeys along the way, the mini series that we've brought to our patrons, and the potential ones for the future when we cross certain thresholds of followers. So head on over, take a look around, throw us a buck. You won't regret it. And to our current patrons, we love y'all and bless y'all, and we can't wait to see more of you make the jump. As I like to say, we are taking applications for new patrons. They will be quickly reviewed and approved. So head on over, check it out.
And now, Alex, the car bomb. Bringing back an oldie.
Mom, you remember that Mexican wallet that you gave me with the 100 in it?
Uh-huh.
I have the wallet, I just don't have the 100.
Cute. Mwah.
Man, what is this movie?
It is. I mean, man. It reminded me, Alex, not to just show my cards this early, but it reminded me of watching Aloha.
Okay, I have not seen Aloha, so that needs some explanation.
But you've heard people talk about Aloha.
Oh yeah, it was disastrous from my understanding.
Yes, and my strong feeling as I was watching that movie was confusion, just trying to reconcile the fact that this was written and directed by the same person that had written and directed movies I loved, like Jerry Maguire and Almost Famous. It just didn't make sense. I've said it more than once whenever Aloha comes up. I always say it's like Cameron Crowe forgot how to make a movie. Which, you know, I've never done the deep dive as far as figure out, like, you know, what's his side of the story. The most I remember is the controversy with Emma Stone playing a character that's supposed to be Hawaiian, but she's not Hawaiian. But there has to be more than that. Illegally Yours, and we're about to get into it after I read some quotes, but Illegally Yours feels like such a drop-off in quality from everything we've watched from Peter Bogdanovich so far.
According to the IMDb section, the trivia section for this film, Peter Bogdanovich called this the worst film he's ever made.
I mean, he's not wrong. Not having seen every movie he's made, but out of everything we've watched so far, I think that's an easy call to make, right?
Of what we've watched, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. We've been pretty complimentary, I think, about every movie of his that we've watched, even if we didn't love some stuff, like on different levels, but still, there's nothing that comes even close to not working the way that this movie doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to know, like, let's spitball some theories. Let's try to figure out what happened here. Let's go through some letterbox quotes, though, because yes, as you correctly predicted, I needed to go to letterbox for this stuff. So we're gonna start with Philip O'Neill, who watched Illegally Yours February 25th, 2017, gave it 1 star, and he wrote the low point of Bogdanovich's career. Low as in Lowe. The Rob Lowe point.
Oh, snappy.
L, watch Illegally Yours, January 21st, 2024, gave it 3.5 stars and a heart. They liked it. My favorite genre of movie is boy is in love with a girl who is really mean and it causes him to fall down about 758 times over the course of the film. And this movie really delivers. He does fall a lot in this movie.
He does.
Nora gives it 3 stars and a heart. Watched it January 21st, 2024, very recently. Nora says, I mean, obviously this is mangled by the studio slapping a fucking stupid voiceover on the whole thing explaining the plot, but it still has that Bogdanovich charm because it has. Number 1, every man is big glasses. Number 2, Rob Lowe is doing Ryan O'Neal doing Peter Bogdanovich. Number 3, every car big screech speed around every corner, no brakes ever. And number 4, sick location work on par with What's Up Dog doing San Francisco, but here it's St. Augustine, Florida, aka a key location for my youth. Number 5, instead of mixed up luggage, we have mixed up cassette tapes. I was going to call that out in Contreras Corner, I forgot. And number 6, everyone is falling down and forgetting how to walk all the time. Which keeper of MGM keys do I need to duel to obtain the Bogdanovich cut? And we're going to close with Ben Winter. Illegally Yours, 3 stars. Watch April 2nd, 2020. The pandemic had just started. We're all locked down. And he says, watch this on a whim. And I was awfully charmed by how much Rob Lowe runs at full speed in this. Does he? I don't remember.
There's that one shot where he's being chased where he comes around the corner and is legitimately like, knees and elbows pumping running. And he does go for it in this, and that's obviously for naught because it wasn't going to be anything. And I don't know where to begin, really.
Where to begin? Well, actually, let's start with Rob Lowe. Do you find him funny in this movie?
No.
Like at all? Not even occasionally?
Well, I just wanted to go ahead and get some of this out here, some of the backstory. Bogdanovich was going to direct Sophia Loren and Marcello Mastroianni in Saturday, Sunday, Monday, but the film was delayed, so he did this instead. Quote, I only did it because I needed some money, said Bogdanovich, who had already declared bankruptcy in 1985. The film was a change of pace for Rob Lowe, who was much in demand at the time due to the success of About Last Night. Lowe admired Bogdanovich's films and hoped the movie would do for him what What's Up Doc did for Ryan O'Neal.
Oh, man.
Bogdanovich says he encouraged Lowe to wear glasses like the actor did in real life. Bogdanovich showed Lowe the awful truth and bringing up Baby to show what he wanted. Lowe felt that the movie needed a name co-star, but Bogdanovich insisted he use his old friend and collaborator Colleen Camp. Lowe says Bogdanovich insisted on rewriting the script, which made the actor uneasy because he liked the original script. Parts of the rewrites involved adding a character to be played by L.B. Stratton. L.B. Stratton was Louise Stratton, sister of Dorothy Stratton, who had dated Bogdanovich. Louise Stratton and Bogdanovich would later be married. Lowe said he went along with the changes because he loved Peter, although he ultimately felt every artist can chase his own vision into a blind alley, and Illegally Yours did just that. I felt like I read Bogdanovich said he had high hopes for the film, but it was completely recut by Dino De Laurentiis, which I believe released the movie. That kind of contradicts the quote he said earlier about it being this worst movie. The film was a financial and critical failure. Bogdanovich later called it awful. I don't even like to mention it. So there you go.
It hurts that badly, huh? I know we're only like halfway through this Bogdanovich journey, but I want to say I'm getting a little tired of his excuses. For Nickelodeon, a movie I loved, 5 stars. It was all about Ryan O'Neal's blue eyes and it all being in color, and the studio wanted a comedy. And here, apparently, this isn't his cut. And I mean, I'm sure there is studio interference, especially because it sounds like he had lost the clout that he had earlier in his career, like the previous decade, where I guess he could do no wrong. And now it just feels like, man, it's so weird. Because this movie starts, and did you notice the opening credits was like Rob Lowe in Peter Bogdanovich's Illegally Yours? Like it's an important movie.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking even the best version of this movie wouldn't be anything more than just your standard 80s comedy, you know? It's not that classic.
Well, even like what it wants to be is I know I liked What's Up Doc more than you did, but like the best version of this movie still doesn't have the level of like acting that What's Up Doc has.
Yeah. It makes sense now if you know, from what you read, that he just did this one. It was a paycheck movie. It was like, oh, you know, I needed money. He had to declare bankruptcy. Couldn't get the Mastroianni movie going. So he's like, oh, let's just do this. I mean, man, I would probably do the same, right? Like, you got to feed your family. But it's such a change from all the stuff that we'd watched before, where you're like, yeah, this is a director that has stuff to say and has a very clear vision. And this is almost the complete opposite. It's just all muddled. And that's funny, that quote I just read about the person that was complaining about the voiceover. Like, I don't think the voiceover is good, but this movie would be impenetrable without the voiceover.
The funny thing is, Keeler himself didn't know about any of this stuff until even after I did. It is kind of confusing, isn't it? Well, it was confusing to everybody there, too.
I mean, it's impenetrable almost like with it, right? Like, now that we're real talk.
It's hearkening back to Voyage to the Planet of Prehistoric Women, where Peter Bogdanovich had to add, the narration to make the movie make sense.
Yep. Yeah. Rob Lowe can barely keep up with the developments. He's just going through that voiceover so quickly. And then this happened, and then this happened. Let me explain this part. It's really bad. But let's go back to Rob Lowe, because I think that this is, for better or for worse, you know, he's at the center of this thing. So you're telling me he never made you laugh, or were there moments you're like, oh, there he is?
No, yeah, he made me laugh in parts, just with how goofy and over the top he was. But like, I just don't find this movie funny. There was one joke in this movie that I thought was fucking hilarious, and it had nothing to do with Rob Lowe. His performance, like, he's trying, and that's commendable. It's the effort he gives is betrayed by the movie that surrounds him.
Yes. I agree with that, but I also think maybe he's just too young. Maybe you know, an older Rob Lowe. Like, I think he's great in Parks and Rec, right? You do too. Everybody does. I think that the way that he handles comedy in Parks and Rec tells you this guy knows what he's doing. He's the Jessica James in Parks and Rec. Well, he isn't. Everybody's Jessica James in Parks and Rec, but you know what I mean. Like, he doesn't have. He feels like he's pretty green for this type of comedy that they're trying in Legally Yours. They're like rapid fire dialogue and him running around and saying things and trying to be funny. Like, he's funny because I think, like you said, he's trying. So you want to give him a shot. He gets on your good side. But I think that just Nickelodeon, we saw Burt Reynolds and Ryan O'Neal do something that was similar, right? Just being motor mouths that kept doing pratfalls, and they seemed like they were a lot more in their element than Rob Lowe is in this movie. And yes, they're also in a better movie, so that helps. But I think that while it's true that the movie doesn't rise up to the effort that he's putting in, I also don't think that the effort he puts in makes it a great performance, even a good performance. I think it's an okay performance. There are times where he's funny, and then there are times where it's like, you're just rushing through this. So many of the punchlines, the jokes here, it just feels like they're running through them. Like, they just can't wait to be done with this scene. Just go to the next thing. So, I mean, it's on Bogdanovich, but there was a quote either in Couture's Corner or just now that said that he was miscast, that Rob Lowe was miscast. And I don't think I disagree with it. I think that if the movie was better, then it probably wouldn't be as noticeable.
Yeah, no, I think he's capable of what this character is. I just think, like, the problem is it's a character that's so silly that you need like a really good movie to pull that character off in a way that's like, oh, okay, that makes sense. It's like, you know, I've got Superbad on the brain ever since we did that episode with the countdown. And that's a great example of like McLovin in that movie. Christopher
Mintz-Plasse.
Yeah, there you go. That character is just so silly and so, like, you know, neurotic, and in a wrong movie or in a bad movie could just be really annoying. But that movie is, of course, a classic, and like everything built up around him is just unbelievable. And I there's got to be one I can think of elsewhere too. The whole Ross Geller character that is just like this neurotic, to someone like me who doesn't like Friends, and that's not, I don't dislike Friends, but you know what I mean? Someone who's not as gaga about it as other people. It's just like, oh my God, like he's so annoying. But the people that Friends works for, they think like it all makes sense and it all plays out well. And of course, David Schwimmer's a talented dude. And that's the thing here of like, no one likes this movie and nothing about this movie is good. So it's just like in the end, like Rob Lowe, it's like, dude, what are you doing? Because it's also this movie where the love story is trying to be like real, as far-fetched as it is. But then those henchmen that are trying to track down they like act like Bebop and Rocksteady. Like they're so like cartoonish,
but not funny.
And that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like just none of it like works. It's a bunch of different parts that like, what I always say is the hallmark of a great movie is when there's a bunch of characters that feel like they shouldn't work together in a movie and do. It's not the only thing that makes a great movie, but that's something that is often accompanied with it when it all works out that way. And in this, it's like Richard Dice and Susie. So Rob Lowe and Kim Myers, those two characters feel like they're in the same movie. That might be it. Even the Molly character, Colleen Camp, it takes too long for her character to get kind of integrated that with the others, that she still seems kind of like an outlier. Yeah, it's just a bunch of clashing parts that just aren't entertaining. Sometimes clashing parts can be very entertaining. And in this case, it's just, I wanted to like Ira Hayden, like the nerdy brother, but like, it's just, there's nothing to sink your teeth into here. It flew by for me, which is a saving grace. I thought that it was a pretty merciful pace that it ran with, but yeah, none of this was anything that I could like get invested in. It's a mess. It is what its legacy says it is. It's a mess.
I'll tell you this, Alex, it doesn't fly by on rewatch.
I could believe that.
Yeah, it was. I was actually surprised by how much more I disliked it the second time around. Because the first time around, actually, I didn't dislike it. I was like, oh man, this is not great. It's kind of a shame, a waste of resources. But I was kind of entertained. Like the movie actually made me laugh a lot more than it did when I rewatched it. When I rewatched it, I was just dreading the next scene and the next scene. I was like, oh my God, it's still like so much more to go with this thing.
Okay, yeah, that would suck if you've seen this movie before and you know how much there's left to it.
Yep.
That was the first time I paused this to get up and get a drink or whatever. It was like, I think like 34 minutes in, I was like, holy shit. I was pretty impressed with it. But yeah, spoiler alert, I have zero interest in ever watching this movie again.
Yes. I don't want to either. It's not a good story. I think that's one of its biggest, you can say it's not funny, but if it wasn't funny, but at least it had like a good story, like a fun mystery or something, that would be, you could just give it that at least. But the story is so convoluted and so uninteresting, and I don't care for the Colleen Camp character at all. I don't think that she has chemistry with Rob Lowe. They may feel like they're in the same movie, but they don't. I don't buy that love story. I don't care. I don't know why he's smitten. I don't know why she decides that she likes him after all.
Oh no, that's what I was saying. I think that Rob Lowe has more chemistry with Kim Myers in this than he does Colleen Camp.
Yes.
Not Meryl Streep. Yeah.
Yeah, they have okay, I misunderstood. I thought you were talking about Colleen Camp. Yeah, when they have their back and forth, the fact that Kim Myers seems to be she's attracted to him, but he is oblivious to that or decides to ignore it. There are moments where he's funny actually, because his whole entrance to the jury duty selection, like I thought that was pretty funny.
I don't mean to be a prima donna. I just don't have 2 weeks to kill right now. I'm getting this rhythm going. Job, boom. Career, boom. Apartment, boom. You know what I mean?
There are times where he just hits the dialogue right. Like he's talking about how he has a plan and he goes, I can't put my life on hold for two weeks. I have a plan. There's this thing that he repeats like 3 different times and then he gets selected as a juror. But I'll tell you what works really for me is what I referenced in Dragon's Corner. I think the mom, Jessica James is really good. And I think that little setup they have in the house, every time that he comes in and they do
she's like more and more mad each time.
Yeah, but there's also all the conversations going on at once. right? Because the tow truck driver is always talking about something else. He's either trying the mud on the face, or he's eating, or he's doing the dishes or whatever. And then the mom is dealing with Rob Lowe, but she's also dealing with the dude that she's dating, but she's also dealing with the little brother. And I think that even if you can tell that not everybody was on the same level of like comic delivery, like the dynamic was fun. I was like, I could watch a TV show about these people, this family. It's a whatever you want to call the TV show, but Rob Lowe comes back to his childhood home, and now it's just him rebuilding his life with his mom and his
Lowe in the family.
There you go, a new Lowe. I agree with you that I wanted to like the little brother character a lot more than I ended up liking him. I think it's because I like the archetype of the younger brother being the one that knows what's up and being the sensible character and still getting dragged into this. But I think it's partly that they don't give that kid a whole lot to do. And then also, again, he feels pretty green. He's just not, there's not a whole lot to his character as far as, layers or something that would make him memorable. Very disappointing, man. If it wasn't a Peter Bogdanovich movie, this wouldn't even be worth talking about.
What's the point? There's 1,000 movies in the 80s just like this that aren't worth talking about, That's the whole point. It is fascinating. Like it's not often that someone makes the Last Picture Show and then makes a movie this bad.
Right. And Nickelodeon was 7%, right? And I think this is what you expected from Nickelodeon.
Yes, you like Nickelodeon way more than I did, but still, I thought Nickelodeon was a much better movie than this.
Yes. This movie is a lot worse than most movies we've done, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to say this is bottom of the barrel of movies we've done, just because of how easily it went by.
Okay, not bottom of the barrel, obviously, but it's still, it's way below average.
Oh, yeah, it's really bad. Would you watch Empire Records again before you watch this, Julio?
Yes. What kind of question is that? Empire Records is, it's not a good movie, but it's fun.
Ready to Rumble?
Okay, now you're pushing it.
Okay, there we go.
Ready to Rumble is longer, or feels longer.
And then, as we've joked about, the whole thing with Ready to Rumble is that it's not for many reasons, it's not the Iron Claw or the Wrestler or even Fighting with My Family, because like you can still watch the Fighting with My Family comes kind of close in the end, but you can still watch those movies and not give a fuck about wrestling. And Ready to Rumble, as I joked about, I think on our Fighting with Her Family episode, is like the entire third act is just like a wrestling match. So it's like, well, what the fuck do I care? So I could see that, even though it has respected actor Oliver Platt in it.
I'll tell you what the real question for me is. Not for you, I know what you would say, but for me, just going to recent experiences, Mad Heidi or Illegally Yours, as far as
come on. Come on. That's insulting that you would ask that.
I asked of myself. Like I said, I know what you would say.
Mad Heidi fucking slaps. Illegally Yours does not.
Here's the thing about Illegally Yours. The few things that work in it, very, very few things that work in it, are higher highs for me than whatever works in Mad Heidi.
Oh, the joke in this that legitimately, like, I belly laughed was when they're doing the testimonials. I was blanking on the word there. When they're getting testimony from everyone in the case, and they have the actual mailman up there, and
yes.
He says that he did get shot, and the prosecuting attorney's like, but you just got up and walked on and went about your business. He says that or whatever, and the guy starts to recite the postman's motto, and he's like,
and yet you went right on delivering the mail.
Yes, sir. Neither snow nor sleet.
Yes, thank you. No further questions.
There are jokes, okay, like something like that. I remember that made me laugh. There's moments that made me laugh, especially the first time around. There were things that I was just really tickled by, enough to where when it was over, like I said, I didn't think it was this horrible movie. I was like, that was unfortunate, but I had a good time. The rewatch, like I said, changed a lot of that. And it might have been that I rewatched it too soon. So There's nothing was making me laugh, but I still know that there's some moments, like I said, where they pull it off. And that might be its saving grace when compared to something like Mad Heidi, where I was just, it was more like flatlining. There was no peaks or valleys there. I was just like, this movie's happening.
All right. So $13 million budget, box office return of a little bit over 250,000. So that's not good. We're going to circle back to the release date here in a minute, but remember it's 1988 and filming for this started in January of 87 and went until April. There were constant weather problems, Bogdanovich said. We were shooting in northern Florida under two different weather fronts. There was also pressure to complete the movie in time for its summer release, something that became more and more difficult to do. Pat McAnulty, who worked on the film, recalled the crew practically mutinied. The film was originally meant to release on July 31st of 1987. However, during a test screening, reportedly half of the audience walked out and the release was pushed back to May of 1988. Associate producer Peggy Robinson said, "We went in knowing the film wasn't ready. Peter knew what was missing and had accommodated for it, but the audience didn't. Peter tried to make the July release date, but it boiled down to, do you want it quick or do you want it good?" Well, neither of those things happened.
Yep.
We just finished filming in April, so I don't think anyone was surprised when it didn't work out. A DEG spokesman, that being the De Laurentiis Entertainment Group that released this movie, it told us a movie was there in the audience we were aiming for, parenthetically women between 18 and 25, were responsive. That's the reason we're taking our time now. It's not just another programmer. See, and this is where it gets interesting, because Bogdanovich, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, said the De Laurentiis Group fucked with it a bunch. The De Laurentiis Group ran into financial troubles and the release date kept getting delayed. This affected other films from the producer as well. All of the films were in limbo until the problems were resolved, said Bogdanovich. It takes a lot of time because there's a lot of banks and different people involved, but I'm assuming by DEG that it will come out either way by them or another distributor. It's been a tough ride for Dino. He's just had a hard run of luck. And again, I'm kind of skipping around here, but Dino De Laurentiis, I mentioned his name earlier, part of the De Laurentiis Entertainment Group. They were originally set to release this, but they were acquired by United Artists. And so that's why this movie, it was originally meant to be delayed, but hit more and more delays. You know, it was The Accidental Husband or Cabin in the Woods. It's on the shelf, and yeah, UA eventually released it.
There was no Netflix for it to go to.
Which is exactly what would have happened now. I mean, this movie to begin with wouldn't get made, but anyway. Where did that land it? It landed it on May 13th of 1988. Julio, what day of the week do movies typically come out?
Friday?
Mm-hmm.
Was this not a Friday?
It was. But did you hear the date I cited? May 13th.
Oh, Friday the 13th?
And if it's the 13th of Friday the 13th in the 80s, you best believe there's a new sheriff in town. Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood, directed by John Carl Buechler. This is the one that Terry Kaiser's in, and famously had to be cut down repeatedly to get its R rating. The New Blood is the one that has the girl who has telekinetic power. So it's basically Jason versus Carrie. And if I remember correctly, that's the one that in the script originally Jason was going to kick a dog, and Kane Hodder's like, no, Jason wouldn't do that. I think it's that one. It might have been Manhattan, but anyway, just to give insight into the difference, New Blood was number one in the box office that weekend, and Illegally Yours did not make the top 10.
Man, that is...
New Blood made $8 million opening weekend.
Bogdanovich probably went to see the New Blood.
I would hope so. With this fucking ascot on, watching it, the Terry Kaiser getting killed with like that fucking... it's kind of like a industrial. It's not a weed whacker, but it's It's like a tree pruner that he gets cut up with. I remember. So what else was out then? Beetlejuice had been around for a few weeks. Above the Law, Moonstruck, Last Emperor, Bloodsport, Good Morning Vietnam. Can you imagine working in the theater back then, building up Prince? It's like, all right, someone's got to take Friday the 13th and someone's got to take Illegally Yours. That was made for like you and I to work together, because you would have been like, I'm not watching that Jason shit. And I'd be like, hell yeah. And then you'd come out and be like, I was like, how was your movie? You'd be like, it had its moments, but overall it was a failure.
I would have been so excited for the new Bogdanovich movie.
So whatever the case, sadly, Illegally Yours did not put up the numbers that Jason versus Tina did. Terry Kaiser was eating steak and lobster that weekend. He was living it up.
Rob Lowe, not so much.
Well, I was trying to think of how that meshed. So in 87, I was doing a little bit of research here on Rob Lowe. That sex tape scandal was in 88. So when he filmed this movie, he was still on top of the world. And then when it came out, I don't know exactly when the sex tape thing happened, but
they found him. They saw that he was vulnerable after Illegally Yours bombed. Like,
go ahead and read this, because the first half of this podcast is always meant to be a bit tongue in cheek and facetious, and I didn't want to risk making any joke about this. In 1988, Lowe, who was 24 at the time, was involved in a sex scandal over a videotape of him having sex with two women, one of which was 22 and her younger friend, who was 16 at the time. The three met at Club Rio, an Atlanta nightclub. They were videotaped the night before I don't know why this is a note. They were videotaped the night before the Democratic National Convention in Atlanta. As the age of consent in Georgia was 14 at the time. Good God, man. Both were of legal age to engage in sexual activity, but 18 was the legal age to be involved in such a recording. At the time, Lowe was campaigning for Michael Dukakis. I'm not laughing at the perversion. It's just these series of words together in 2024 are very intense.
That should have been Bogdanovich's next movie.
Exactly. Eventually, his career rebounded, and Lowe mocked his own behavior, doing 2 post-scandal appearances as a host of Saturday Night Live.
Wait a second. You're not the little pervert from the girls' bathroom.
Yes, that's me. You remember?
Well, Alex, my takeaway is that we were robbed of a Peter Bogdanovich slasher, because P-Bog was all about reimagining, revisiting old genres, or, just he kept moving from one genre to the other and putting his own spin on them. And a way for him to rebound after Illegally Yours would have been for him to see what was at the top of the box office and going, all right, I'll do it.
Brother, after the disaster that was Illegally Yours, the weekend of The New Blood, Bogdanovich, he should have gone to Paramount. Be like, I know you guys have another one of these in the chamber. Give me a shot. And that would have been Jason Takes Manhattan. So I invite you to consider a world where Peter Bogdanovich directs V.C. Dupree and Kane Hodder in a boxing fight. God, what a missed opportunity. You're exactly right.
All the pratfalls that you could have in that boat.
God, it would be like the machete. Jason's machete would be the thing that keeps coming into the wrong hands, and all the characters are scrambling to find it. 1988 was not kind to Rob Lowe. He did have a movie that came out prior to this called Masquerade with Kim Cattrall and Meg Tilly. But as we're sitting here today, he rebounded from it. I think he's living comfortably now. It's just something worth calling out, much like this movie in general is, for not just the involvement of Rob Lowe or some of the actors we've called out along the way, but it's fucking Peter Bogdanovich directed this. This is the same guy we've talked about Targets and Last Picture Show so far, and even Nickelodeon. It's a guy who we'll be talking about some more as the summer goes on. And this is just, I'm going to be honest, I will be shocked if we watch any of these other movies, and I think it's worse than this. I think we've hit the bottom of the P-Bog barrel here.
I hope so. I hope so, because look, the worst thing that could happen, the thing that's scary, is that I don't mind like a big swing and a miss. The problem is that this is not a big swing. He barely grabbed the bat.
Yeah.
It's so disposable, so unimpressive, so generic. It's not worthy of what I think is his talent. And I know that the story, I don't know if it has a happy ending, but I know that we have better things ahead because I've watched Noises Off and I've watched The Cat's Meow. And it's been a long time, so I may rewatch them now and not think they're good, but I know that there's no way that they're terrible, which is what this movie was. So I think you're right. At least on the main feed, I think that this is the bottom, and from here on, we move up. On the Patreon feed, might be trickier. I don't know, man. I know we have Mask and Saint Jack. I know Mask has good reviews, so I guess critically well received. I don't remember if Saint Jack was supposed to be good or not. We'll find out. I mean, there's odds are that it's not going to be worse than this.
I think somewhere in the universe, he just said challenge accepted.
I love it. I think the audience likes it. I think the audience loves to take a good-looking guy or a good-looking woman and see him fall down, and it kind of brings them down to to some place they can understand that, because in life people do fall down.
All right, so final scores here for Illegally Yours. Johnny Cash.
Oh, I was going to say that. Yeah. Okay. Doesn't it get some points for Johnny Cash?
I was just about to say. Yeah, man. JR, Man in Black, whatever you want to call him. He went in the studio and recorded tracks for this piece of shit. So that alone keeps it from being an F. So I'll give this a D. This is a movie I would only recommend to people that know what we're talking about when we say the name Peter Bogdanovich and know his filmography and haven't seen it. Like if they're big fans of any of the movies we've done so far or talked about, I'd be like, yeah, there's this movie from the 80s that's like an 80s comedy, but Bogdanovich tries to put his own spin on it, and it's really, really bad. You should check it out. I'd recommend that to the film nerds of the world who haven't seen it already, just for like the novelty of having seen it. But people who don't watch as many movies as you are, there's no fucking way I would recommend this movie in my right mind. This it gets a D, and its only saving grace from getting an F is the fact that Johnny Cash recorded 3 tracks for it.
Do you think that you would enjoy it more? Everything's the same, but what if everybody in the cast was a big name? It just occurred to me that sometimes, I mean, this is kind of like beyond the movie's control, right? Because that cast was probably perfectly adequate.
But still, 88. Most of the people in this, I knew who they were.
Right,
like,
but
not
replace
like,
them
holy
with...
shit, it's Kevin Pollak or something like that. But it was like, yeah, I know who this is. It's that person from this thing. No, that would probably make it more frustrating if it was all A-listers or some shit.
It was like Chris Farley and David Spade as the 2 goons that are,
Well, now you're just trying to get like in an argument with me about something. I feel like. To your original question, would I like it better if it was a better cast? I respond with the classic Julio Oliveira question. Would that make the screenplay better? Does that make the movie better? So I would say likely not. I give you this. If it did have an insane cast, it would give it a higher likelihood of getting like a C, just to be like, man, you got to see this for the cast involved. But
yeah,
if it's the same, this movie sucks, dude. Like I don't know who could be in it to make it interesting. And the people involved try their best. It's just this movie's trash.
You have Phil Hartman playing the ex-boyfriend.
Yeah, I know. You can say more people from late 80s, early 90s Saturday Night Live, and we can fill out this cast. But again, it's the biggest thing is this movie's just not good.
Yeah. I was just trying to think of like, what would make me recommend this movie to anybody? And you're right. The only scenario is somebody that's a big Bogdanovich fan and somehow they didn't know about this one. I'll be like, oh, well, you have to watch it once. I'm going to go with 1.5 stars. It was 2 stars after the first watch, and then it dipped.
1.5 is likely what I'm dropping on Letterboxd. So yeah, that we're aligned on that.
Yeah, it's It's a shame. And it does not surprise me because this dude Bogdanovich seemed to be a pretty smart guy. It does not surprise me that he would call it the worst movie he ever made.
Well, with that being said, Julio, are we moving on to greener pastures? What's next?
Well, I hope so. PJ Hogan, the third PJ party, and it's not wedding related. So he's spreading his wings, stretching, expanding his horizons. This is Unconditional Love, starring Kathy Bates, who might be making her Contrarians debut. No, she was in Titanic. Never mind. Returning, Kathy Bates. This time
it's supposed to be Reba McEntire, but yeah, Kathy Bates got the job.
There you go. And perhaps more importantly, Rupert Everett comes back. Quick turnaround for this guy.
Early 2000s, correct?
Yes. So this is, with PJ Hogan, we're just going in a straight line because he only has 6 movies. So this was his follow-up to My Best Friend's Wedding.
Well, we go from Illegally Yours to Unconditional Love, and hopefully we're moving up, but time will tell. But that is
do you think PJ Hogan is like that guy that follows a comedian that just bombed?
Are you ready to laugh?
He's Seth Rogen in Funny People after Adam Sandler bombs and insults the audience. God.
I hope not. I at least hope that movie isn't a quarter of the length of Funny People. So, all right. Well, that was Illegally Yours. Being completely truthful, we clock in here at an hour on Real Talk. I was pretty terrified of this episode. I'm like, this is going to be 10 minutes. So we got plenty out of it. But looking to the future with Unconditional Love, the summer keeps rolling on. The Bogdanovich PJ Hogan Fest continues.
Let's all bounce back together next episode.
We're going to try our best on our next episode. But for now, Julio, I say we get out of here.
Let's do it.
Welcome to our end credits.
Or as we usually call them, our perennial plugs.
We start off by giving thanks to the Festive Years who provide our opening and closing tracks. They kick us off with Last Stand and take us home with Summer of 99. Be sure to head over to thefestiveyears.com for any and all Festive Years needs.
Our friend and fellow podcaster Hans Rothgieser is the man behind our logo and all the art you see related to our show. Reach out to him and let him know how much you like that little tomato. His email address is mildemonios@hotmail.com and his website is mildemonios.pe. That's MILDEMONIOS. You can also check out his podcast Nación Combi about Peruvian current affairs and Marginal about economy. Hans, thank you for all your support.
For those interested in the regularly absurd world of professional wrestling, Joe and the boys over at latenightgrin.com have you covered. Tell them the Contrarians sent you.
And we like to close with special thanks to our social media team of Zoe Perez and Corey Ari. Each of the social media accounts we mentioned in the introduction look as good as they do because of their work.
So that'll do it for this episode of The Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong, and we will catch you next time.
How much money